Hey y'all, we just got done with New Hogan June 10th and 11th for our tournament. That was our season finale, our last tournament of the year. And we start a fresh one here in July for our club. Hogan was a bit of a different beast because of the weather. That weather was the overnight lows was like 50s, low 50s, somewhere around there, low to mids. And it had thunderstorms with rain at some part in the day, both days, both Saturday and Sunday. And Friday was beautiful weather, t-shirt, shorts weather. So it definitely tanked that weather right at the end or during the tournament. So it kind of messed with the fish a little bit.
Water temp was still like 74s.
The one good thing is the water temp, it kept it even dropped to like 74, 76, depending on where you were. And it was like 76 to 78. So it only dropped it a couple of degrees between that. So the fish were still, it's not like they completely shut down. They just changed what they were doing. To get into that, Friday, they were up in trees for me, and they were really active on offshore humps, especially like the shallower offshore humps, and even on some deeper ones. That all changed on Saturday. So kinda. In the mornings, they were still up shallow. In fact, I caught our big fish, or my big fish of the day, was a 398 up in like 10 foot of water on a little bit of grass patch on an offshore hump. And that was caught on, sorry Steve, on drop shot. This is watermelon candy. Picked up a couple of those fish on that. Then we moved up to the trees, and my partner caught one on a Cinco. And that was pretty much our morning. Oh, it just basically fishing the outside of those trees, the deep edge of those trees. That was pretty much our Saturday morning. How was your Saturday morning?
I ran up in the creek to a spot where me and James pre-fished, and we caught 2-pound fish back to back. And we left there. I thought that maybe I could go there in the morning and pick up a couple fish and see how it's going. Kind of just trying to feel out the day. We went there, fished around, nothing. Then decided to run further up the creek into the trees, see if I can't pick up a limit, because we did see some fish in there.
There's a lot of fish in those trees.
Not big fish, but there was some fish up there.
Limit fillers. To put it in perspective right now, Malone or
Hogan.
Basically, for the limit fish, we're looking for 2-pound pluses.
Right.
And then if you run across something bigger, which there are a lot of big fish in that lake, but currently for this weekend, we're basically just looking for those 2 pluses.
Right. So I went up there, and I did pick up my limit up there. Pretty easy. I was throwing Margarita Mutilator, MM3 in the 7-inch straight tail, and I was wacky rigging it on a drop shot and just throwing it in shadows. And I picked up pretty much all the fish doing that for Saturday morning. And then we started moving around trying to find a bigger bite, but that was just a little slower.
Yeah.
After that, after about 9 o'clock, it slowed down.
It definitely slowed down. My second half of the day on Saturday, we basically just shopped around different offshore humps. And we would throw in some trees in there. We were trying to move around. Basically, a lot of the fish that I had found from pre-fishing or on Friday kind of evaporated.
Yeah.
Later on in the day, I figured out that basically the only time we got bit on those humps was when there was wind. So when that wind would come in, it would pull those fish up. I had to bleed all the fish that we caught, and we're catching them in like 15 or less. and I had to bleed the air sacs on them. That's how deep they're coming from to come up on top of those humps to eat. And basically that's what we did. We just milled around and kept fishing those humps. And the other thing is, in the afternoon we had switched to morning dawn chartreuse tail on drop shot. My partner caught a Nico fish with they're like all like watermelon colors, natural colors. I think that was pretty much it. Just between Cinco and drop shot, that was our go-to. What was your afternoon?
Yeah. My afternoon was slow. We drove around. We fished a couple places. We did catch fish, but none of the fish helped us. Like, we fished some trees, we fished some rock, we fished some points. We fished Long Island points, Main Lake, and just nothing bigger, and it was not very active.
Yeah.
But again, it was slow fishing basically the whole weekend, drop shotting.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately it wasn't very good for power fishing. I got one nip on an underspin, and I tried throwing A-rig, I tried throwing all sorts of stuff. Sunday, it was actually, Saturday was pretty good storm, or it was basically fronty the whole day on Saturday afternoon. It got really fronty. And then Sunday morning was post-front, basically.
Well, you ended up with 1140 on Saturday.
Yeah, I had 1140 on Saturday with a 398
which gave
for
you
a big.
First place for the
Ended up
for the day.
For the day. First place for the day, first place for the weekend. Then, let's see, so we'll get to Sunday morning. Sunday morning, I knew it was post-front. One of the things that I'm going to have a video on soon is going to be the Bass Union darter heads. I prefer this thing for the post-front. They're a lot more subtle. This is actually what I was throwing. It's the 1/8 ounce head in the 1/0 with Margarita Mutilator MM3 on it. And basically just dragging it to the same effect of when you're casting it and it's falling. It's got that good spiral. And they'll eat it either on the fall or as you're dragging it, just slow through the rocks. It's really good. You don't get hung up in the rocks and it walks right through. I don't think I ever had a time throwing in nasty rocks that I had to actually go get it in any way. I was able to pop them all free. But that was my main damage Saturday morning. My partner was throwing drop shot was something. I think it was, I want to say Margarita Mutilator also, if not Morning Dawn. It's one of the two that kind of seemed to be ours. A lot slower for me though. I had to slow drag them. How was your Saturday morning? Sunday morning.
Sunday morning. Well, Saturday I ended up with like 760 or 40 or something like that. Not very good.
Yeah.
For a limit. And so I needed bigger fish, so I figured I'd stay out on Main Lake and fish some more of my offshore humps that I like. I went to one close to the ramp right away, and it was still dark, so I threw a Morning Dawn. This is a Robo Worm 6-inch fat straight tail, but it's Morning Dawn red chartreuse tip. So there's a lot of red flake in it. Bigger bait. And I threw it up on the hump, and it was probably about 10 foot of water. And immediately I caught probably a 2-pound spot right away. We went out, we fished some more of that hump. Didn't really have anything going. We moved to a corner that has some trees in it and water that flows through. And I ended up missing one, picking one up, and my partner put on it was a stick bait, like a watermelon, 5-inch watermelon, like black flake Cinco stick bait, right?
Yeah, like knockoff Cinco.
Right.
Basically, yeah.
On the drop shot, and threw it up in the middle of the trees and started bringing it back and caught a 2.7, which was our big fish for the day. And I thought, all right, well, we're on a run. We got 2 2s,
Yeah. On track.
On track. We're doing something. And then nothing.
Yeah.
And nothing. And nothing. And nothing. And then I went to go move to a spot, and I was coming around a corner, fishing a bank down. And I saw this guy, and I was like, well, he's on the same bank I'm fishing.
Yeah, I had already pulled off the humps because that wind was not there.
Right.
So they were not pulling up on the humps to eat.
And I saw that he wasn't on the humps, and he told me he was on the humps the day before. So I knew that I need to do something different if he's off the humps already. He had first place first day. I scrapped it all, and I figured I'd run up the creek to those trees and fill my limit since I had 2 decent fish, because really I was going for points. I needed about 9 pounds to keep in the point race for the season, right? I went up there, caught one fish that was maybe a pound, and that was about it for the morning. Like I didn't even catch another fish until after 1 o'clock.
Yeah. So I had ran into him. He said he only had 3. We weren't really. I don't even remember how many fish we had.
You had 5.
I had 5. Yeah, we had 5, but we're struggling. Nothing. They were all smalls. Nothing like they were on Saturday, and fishing the same kind of areas. Sunday afternoon, we decided to start moving around, start jucking and jiving, mix it up because it was obviously a different day. So we started moving up, going up the main creek channel, or I guess you'd say east channel, and fished some rock, fished some other stuff, and then the wind picked up. When the wind picked up, we hopped over to an island that's off of there. It has like a rock point that comes off of it, and started picking them up with drop shot and with Morning Dawn chartreuse tail. And I think I'm trying to remember what my partner was throwing. But he was also throwing drop shot too. That's right. He was throwing Morning Dawn also. He had picked that up because it started to work. And we basically, once that wind turned back on, we started rerunning our stuff. In the middle of rerunning that stuff, the wind died down again, and dark clouds set in, hard dark clouds set in. And then my partner makes a cast, Corey makes a cast, and his line starts raising. And we're like, great, it's lightning. So then we caught a couple or one right when that was happening. We decided we were going to move away from that lightning. So we moved to another point, or moved to another offshore hump that had wind on it still. Picked up 2 more right before it was time for weigh-in. No lifting lines, but that definitely, I feel like that lightning, or the potential lightning, turned that bite on, along with that wind and the dark clouds. It got those fish to pull up on those humps. So that's kind of what we were looking at, and it sucks because it was just turning on, and I was starting to see them on forward scan, and I was starting to see more fish come up with them, and it was time to go for weigh-in. How about you? How was your...
So right after I ran into him, it was about 1 o'clock. Weigh-in was at 3 o'clock. I decided to go up the creek and just fish a know-nothing bank. There's really nothing there. The only thing that you couldn't tell when you were driving by it, but there was good grass, green grass on this bank.
Yeah.
And we pulled up to it. I was throwing the MM3 in the 7-inch drop shot, and just kind of throwing it out there, letting it dead stick, and then drag it towards me, throwing it shallow, and immediately I picked up a fish. It wasn't a keeper. My partner picked up a fish, and he was throwing, he did a Texas rig with that stick bait, and he picked up a fish, and it was I'm thinking a 2. I didn't weigh any of the fish.
Still in that 2 area.
It was in the 2 area. And then immediately right after, I picked up one on this, and it was in that 2 area. And then he saw that I picked one up on this, so he made a new, or it's probably not new, but...
he modified.
He modified, MacGyvered some stuff. He put a drop shot on top of his Texas rig, so a Texas drop
Yeah.
with the margarita mutilator.
So he's got a Texas rigged Cinco
Basically.
on the bottom, and then tied in on a drop shot with using that Texas as the weight, has a drop shot on there.
With the margarita mutilator, and picked up another fish. We picked up another one. We were able to call that small fish out. But the wind was blowing up against the bank and those clouds were coming in.
Yeah.
And we were catching fish real fast.
Definitely turned them on.
Maybe did a couple high fives because we were catching some fish.
When it finally comes back together.
Yeah, it finally came back together, right? We actually had a limit at that point in time. And, you know, again, I was looking for about 9 pounds, really.
Yeah. Ended
But
up with.
I did see my line start rising at one point in time.
Yeah.
And I kind of just put the rod tip down and looked at my partner and was like, "Did you see that?" And he said, "No." I said, "Okay."
Fish are biting. Let's move on.
Yeah, let's move. But so I ended up with 11-17.
Which is good for second place for the weekend.
First place for Sunday, second place for the weekend.
Yeah.
So didn't do too bad.
So in the references to points, going into this tournament as our last tournament of the year, I was in third place points. He was in first place points. He had like a 3-point lead on second.
Yeah, and a 4-point lead on you.
And a 4-point lead on me. And with Saturday's results, him and I switched spots.
Yeah.
So he was in third, I was in first. And basically he had to get about 9 pounds to get his 3 points back to be able to be back in first place. So that did work out. Congratulations to him. He got first place. And somehow I squeaked out with second. Not too bad. We went 1-2 for the club. We definitely put some work into it, so it was kind of nice to see it work out in the end. So you're looking at the 2022/23 season Mr. Bass for the Bass Reapers, and then like I said, I ended up with second.
Yep.
So I'm completely good with it. I thought I was out of it like the whole year as far as even getting to the point where I potentially might have got to there was crazy.
It was a tough year.
It was a tight race, very tight race.
Very tight. The way the points work, it's only 1 point per place. So
Yeah.
it was a tight race all year. Top 10 people were in there tight, and even at the end of this tournament, which is the season finale, we had some moving that happened.
Yeah,
right?
There was some shuffling that moved on.
Yeah.
So
It's fun.
It's fun. If you guys are considering club, we definitely recommend the Reapers. If you're in that Fairfield, Sassoon, Vacaville, heck, anywhere area, we have a member from Turlock that comes and fishes with us.
Yep.
And potentially a member from Nevada that might come join with us.
Yeah.
It's a good group of guys. In case you're curious, or
More of a social club that bass fishes.
Social club. We like to BS and learn from each other. If you've been thinking about a club, give us a look. You can hit me on Instagram. You can leave a comment down below. You can go to our website, bassreapers.org. Or there's an Instagram for the Fairfield Sassoon Bass Reapers on there also. I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Next
New Hogan. Hogan.
New Hogan is not a horrible lake. No one fishes it, but it's got fish in it.
We had another tournament show up on Saturday.
Yeah, NorCal was there on Saturday. Their winning weight was 11 something, so we were right there with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Next tournament.
Next tournament is Delta.
New season.
Delta. Whole brand new season. We're probably going to have some other fish videos in there besides Delta.
Right.
Maybe a Clear Lake or something.
Maybe we'll go halibut fishing. Who knows?
Maybe we'll go halibut fishing if the weather lets us.
Yeah.
Any questions, comments, leave them down below. Hit me on Instagram. Otherwise, I hope you get them.
I can see the bottom. I was not over the edge. Oh shit. Hey, by the way, I got a fish on. Fucking A.
Did you get off the rock?
Yeah, I was hung, and all of a sudden it just.
So they're on top.
Yeah, they're on top.